Achtung!
Target designated.
Nuclear launch detected. Nuclear attack.
Prepare to die.
Energy and critical
Non-vigilant.
Alright, Nukenites, this is the second day of the OSL Round of 8, meaning sets 2 and 3, if they're needed, will be played today. It's going to be a lot of fun, and as you can tell, this is not the outdoor arena that I talked about last week. I said that they might have it at an outdoor arena, but I wasn't really using my brain when I said that. It's freaking winter, it's too cold, they don't want to do anything like that, so we're back in the studio. Yeah, we're back in the studio. I'm sitting in Korea right now. I just walked over to Korea. In fact, I drove there. I drove underwater. I have this special car. Okay, never mind. But this is the second set between Fantasy and Hyuk. Hyuk down 1 on a map that he really should have won on. So Fantasy has pretty much the advantage in every way that counts. Statistically, he's shown better play. In that first set, anyway. Hyuk has been kind of on fire for the rest of the OSL. Just hit a big speed bump in the form of that first set. Let's see how he's been doing, how he's been practicing in the week between these two sets. Here we go. It's going to be the second set between the two SK Telecom T1 dudes. Except up at the 10 o'clock position in Teal is Hyuk. Scouting down, that means down at the 5 o'clock position in red was Fantasy. Cross positions. Now I do apologize for what will probably be a very no-frills day of casting, because I really have to get these casts out of the way. I don't have internet at my new place, and I'm moving out of this place tomorrow completely. So this is my last cast in my old place. Woohoo! Celebration! Sort of. Moving into a new place is scary. I'm excited, but I know it's not going to feel like home for a while. Plus, I have to work on getting my internet. I tried to call today, but I couldn't get anyone on the phone, so I'm going to have to check the comments at work, basically. But should be fun anyway. And these guys are in cross positions on this big map. And I've heard Fantasy talk about this map. I've mentioned quite a few times in my commentaries that Fantasy has been complaining about the maps, but he pointed this one out in particular. Saying that Gladiator, he talked to I Love UUV, and he said that I Love UUV looked at that and said, wow, this is impossible for Terran to win on this map. So Fantasy will have to prove that logic wrong if he wants to take down his intrepid teammate. His teammate knows him so well. I just don't know how Fantasy is going to win this, because Hyuk has done well on this map before, earlier in the OSL. Of course, he hasn't really shown much against Terran on this map, so I should kind of reserve judgment. But before these guys do anything, let's give a few predictions before things heat up. This is cross position, so we're not going to see a rush from either of the dudes. So, alright. Oh, that guy bought a donut. He is showing off his receipt. But here are some predictions from Randomation Studios. Right. Hyuk Hyuk will go to the finals versus Hyuk or the Uber Toss. Yeah, I'm going to read most of these in favor of Hyuk. Since he's behind, I think that is appropriate. But did Fantasy go for a 14 command center? I think he did. Well, landing on the 13th SCV, but still technically a 14 command center. We'll have to look inside of his base again. But yeah, I think he did go for 14 CC. Going to give him an awesome economic advantage if he can hold on long enough against Hyuk's uber aggressiveness. Hyuk is an extremely aggressive player, so this was a very risky build for Fantasy to do, but it's going to benefit him. Yeah, that was a 14 command center. Quite the brass one's opening from Fantasy already. And Hyuk, it looks like he's going for pretty standard 3 hatch to start it out with. He's going to see that 14 CC, though. Yeah, I'm remembering Jaedong versus Midas game in the MSL recently where Jaedong came up against a 14cc and responded in a very unique way that I actually haven't seen before, so I'm hoping we see something similar from Hyuk, whether or not it works out or not. But okay, let's move on to another prediction from AJ Doyen1 writes, Hyuk versus Stork final. Stork will then lose, and Cholera SC's head will explode at Hyuk winning an OSL. I've talked to Cholera a couple times before, and I can actually see that happening. I don't think many people realize that I actually casted with Cholera for quite a few games. I'll let you guys find that yourself if you didn't know about it. Here's another prediction from the Stalin69 writes, if this becomes a Hyuk versus Modesty finals, I will quit Brood War. So go Fantasy! Go Cal! A lot of exclamation points. At least 13 or 14 exclamation points in that one. Actually pushing 20. But anyways, one more. Actually two more. Let's do two more. BWONES, whatever that means, writes, Hyuk is on fire in this OSL. He will pwn Fantasy so hard, it will not even be funny. That's my phrase that people complain about. He's like, Nuke says it wouldn't even be funny too much. But the bunker, rather, I almost said Sunken Colony, is at the front for Fantasy, so he's prepared for any kind of a Ling run by. If Hyuk decides to go for that lick, and Hyuk is putting down his second extractor. Let's get one more prediction from Not That 3 writes, Hyuk will pull yet another all-kill on his way to the finals. He's referring to a Pro League series against the team that I forget, but Hyuk has performed an all-kill before, which is 4 wins in a row in the Pro League Winners League. Excellent. Well, there's the third barracks in the academy on the way for Fantasy. And with a 14 command center build, a Terran player gets a huge booming economy to start the game out with. But of course, it's up to the Zerg to deny that third base to keep the Terran trapped inside of their natural expansion area. It's difficult to do, though. Hyuk is going to have his hands very full, especially with a player like Fantasy. I used to say that Fantasy had some of the worst Medic Marine control of any of the Terran players. And that used to be very true. That's why he went for mech in the first place. He couldn't handle that standard Medic Marine micro and whatnot. But he's definitely pushed up his Medic and Marine play to the point where he beat Jaedong with pure Medic and Marine in a game on Outsider in the Pro League Finals. Probably the most important game of his entire career. So now his Medic and Marine control is actually superb. And I could definitely see him taking this game with pure SK Terran and just Medic Marine or something. Alright, Fantasy is moving up. He has a couple fire bats at the front. He's been pumping a lot of fire bats in his games against Hyuk. He knows how Ling happy that Hyuk is. So he's going to keep those fire bats at the front. And Hyuk might be going for a counterattack. Actually, he's just looking for the troop. He's looking for the squad of Medic Marines. He sees them, so he's going to follow those Medic Marines. See if he needs to throw down any additional sunken colonies. He does have his Hydralisk Den up, so he went for that first, and he's going to try to get out lurkers as quickly as he can, which means he's going to bypass the Mutalisk harassment, which is going to hurt him a lot. If you can't harass a Terran that is doing a 14cc, it's very tough, very, very tough. Basically, Hyuk will have to expand everywhere. Once he defends against Fantasy's initial push, which it seems like he might have, Fantasy still grouping up, but I don't think he's going to be able to break through the front. I mean, Hyuk still has plenty of Zerglings out there to help him come up from behind, do the pincer attack. Of course, Hyuk only has those 2 sunken colonies, so this might actually be tighter than I thought it would be. But the lurker's just now morphing. So if Fantasy pushes this, he might be able to take down the 2 sunken colonies. And if he has a scan prepared, if he gets a nice enough marine spread, he could take down the lurkers too. But nope, Hyuk positioning his lurkers right at the front. So it looks like he'll be able to hold a lot of lurkers coming in for Hyuk now. So Hyuk is going to push down. I have a feeling, yes, he's going to try to get the nice surround his Medic Marines. Very quick reaction for Fantasy. Doesn't lose a single unit. And that didn't even get 1 unit damaged, I don't think. So Fantasy is on top of things in this game, it seems. Building a starport now to get out those science vessels. And, he's going to have a very tough time defending against a huge lurker attack, which it looks like Hyuk might be going for. He's going straight for the natural expansion. And Fantasy still hanging outside of Hyuk's natural expansion, with there are only 2 sunken colonies there. So Fantasy trying to hold that high ground. And as long as he can hold the high ground, I don't think he's going to be able to hold those. He's got to back off, run back to his natural expansion. He is getting in a full retreat mode. And he only has scans. That's his only a means of detection at the moment. So he's falling back into his bunkers and preparing for a full onslaught from Hyuk. It looks like Fancy has just been playing Bullfighter in his games against Hyuk in this series. In the first game, Hyuk went for a counterattack. Fancy knew it was coming. He had troops prepared at home, and he threw them inside of a bunker. Scanned. Actually, he had a science vessel he didn't need to scan. And just hung out there and went for the counter of his own and took down Hyuk. So very much a bullfighting style of StarCraft. But okay, we're getting ready to get science vessels into this game. It's going to take Fancy a little bit longer to get to that. He loses his troop outside the natural expansion. But Hyuk is still only at 2 bases. In fact, I think he's going to try to end it from 3 bases. I don't see him taking his third anywhere. He has the 3 hatch, of course, but he isn't taking his third base. He's going to use his aggressiveness, use the amount of units he has to box Fantasy into his natural, and then eventually probably go out and take his third base. And yeah, he's going to try to take a third base over here at the 9 o'clock position. Fancy prepared. Look at that. Fancy, I think he has an SCV or something over at the 2 o'clock base too. Just looking for the next hatchery that comes up. He's going to chase that drone around, try to keep that hatchery from going down. Defiler mound already for Hyuk off of 2 bases. Weird play from Hyuk. He definitely won't be able to support this build long off of 2 bases, so he better pray that he can put down his third. And getting 1 Zergling in there to get rid of that pesky SCV, and he finally takes his third over at the 9 o'clock position. But he's still only at 2 bases. If he doesn't defend all of his bases as Fantasy moves out, the Defilers are going to basically be useless for him. An early Defiler build, it leaves you so weak, you're not able to build enough units to really fight back the Terran, especially 2-base Terran. Might work against a 1-base Terran, but how often do you see that? Alright, Hyuk still has a pretty massive amount of units. He's been pumping a lot of Zerglings. And now that he's gotten straight to his Hive Tech, he's probably working on his Adrenaline upgrade too, to make his unit composition even more deadly. Alright, see what Fancy can. Fancy has built 3 bunkers at the front. Man, he knows what kind of a player that Hyuk is. Hyuk will not hesitate in just pushing the front once he sees an opening. And he might be doing that right now. He's flooding down to the 6 o'clock position, the 6 o'clock natural expansion. And you might be going for that. Fancy moving up. You might find that brand new base, the 3rd base. So Hyuk, if he's got to get a lot of damage done. Then Fantasy, he stems and jumps into the bunker. Yes, Firebats out there too to help deal with the... whoa, a couple of Firebats gonna rip into the Zerglings. So many Zerglings die. Man, Fantasy still holding. Even against this amount of lurkers, Hyuk, he gets his lurkers stuck, and Hyuk get taken down. But Fantasy, this is working out almost exactly like the first game. Fantasy just waited for Hyuk to attack. God, it's so awesome when players know each other this well. D-Matrix Firebat. GG from Hyuk. Man, he just fell into Fantasy's hands in both games. That game was remarkably like the first game, where Fantasy just waited for the attack, had his own units out there outside the natural, and once Hyuk attacked, he just went for the counter. Easy peasy. Especially when you're that defensive at your natural. Well, Fantasy, we'll see you in the semifinals. And that's it for that one. Let's move on to the next matchup.